She told me the truth on a Tuesday morning, 6 months after we got married. I was standing in the kitchen pouring coffee when Emma said, "I need to tell you something about the day we met." Her voice had that quiet weight to it, the kind that makes you set down whatever you're holding. I turned around. She was gripping the edge of the table, knuckles white. "I lied to you," she said, "that first time at the cafe, when I told you I was a cleaner." I just stared at her. "I'm not a cleaner, Jake. I never was." The coffee pot was still dripping behind me. I could hear every drop hitting the glass. "What are you talking about?" I asked. She looked up, eyes rimmed red. "My family, they own hotels. A lot of them. I'm worth more money than you've probably ever thought about." I felt my stomach drop. Not from anger, from confusion. "Why would you lie about that?" She didn't answer right away. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. "Because I needed to know if someone could love me without it." I didn't know what to say. I still don't sometimes. But to understand why she said that, why she walked into my life pretending to be someone else, I need to take you back. Back to the beginning. Back to when I thought I was just meeting a woman who cleaned houses for a living. Let me start from there. I turned 32 the year I stopped trying. Not in a dramatic way. I didn't have some kind of breakdown or make a big announcement to anyone. I just stopped. Stopped swiping through apps where conversations died after 3 messages. Stopped going to the bar on Friday nights hoping I'd meet someone. Stopped pretending I wasn't tired. I'm an electrician. I work for myself, mostly residential jobs. Fixing outlets, rewiring old houses, the occasional small commercial gig. It's steady work in a town like ours. People always need something fixed. I inherited my grandfather's toolkit when he passed, and with it, his reputation. "Jake's reliable," they'd say. "Jake shows up on time." That was enough to keep me busy. I lived alone in the house my grandparents left me when they died. My grandmother first, then my grandfather 8 months later. It's a small 2-bedroom on the east edge of town, surrounded by ponderosa pines and not much else. The nearest neighbor is a 1/4 mile down a gravel road. It's quiet, sometimes too quiet. My routine was simple. I'd wake up around 6, make coffee, check my schedule. Most days I had 2, maybe 3 jobs lined up. I'd load my van, drive out, do the work. I was good at it. I liked the problem-solving part, tracing a short in a circuit, figuring out why a breaker kept tripping. There was a clarity to it. A problem had a solution. You just had to find it. Lunch was usually whatever I could grab. Sandwich from the deli, burrito from the food cart on Main Street. I'd eat in my van, windows down if the weather was decent, and scroll through my phone without really looking at anything. Then back to work. Evenings were the hardest part. I'd get home around 5 or 6, depending on the job. I'd shower, throw together something for dinner. Pasta, chicken and rice, nothing fancy. I'd eat at the kitchen table, the same table my grandparents used for 50 years, and I'd try not to think too much about the silence. Some nights I'd watch something on TV. Other nights I'd read, mostly thrillers, the kind where you don't have to think too hard. Weekends were worse. I'd find projects around the house. I replaced the deck boards one summer, painted the exterior another year, fixed the fence, organized the garage. Anything to fill the time. I wasn't miserable. I want to be clear about that. I wasn't sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I had a job I was good at, a house that was paid off, enough money to cover my bills and then some. By most measures, I was doing fine, but I was lonely. Not the kind of loneliness that aches, more like the kind that settles in your chest and just stays. You get used to it. You learn to function around it. You stop noticing it most of the time. I'd tried the apps for a while, installed them, set up a profile with a picture my buddy Matt took of me at a barbecue. "You look normal," he'd said. "That's good. Women don't want some gym selfie guy." I swiped, I matched, I messaged, but the conversations always fizzled out. "Hey, how's your week going?" "Good. Busy. You?" "Same." And then nothing. I went on a few dates, coffee with a woman who talked about her ex the entire time, dinner with someone who spent more time on her phone than talking to me, a walk around the lake with a nice enough person who I just had zero chemistry with. It was exhausting. Not because the people were bad, they weren't. It just felt like everyone was performing, trying to be the right version of themselves, and I was too tired to perform. So I stopped. I deleted the apps. I stopped asking Matt if he knew anyone single. I just accepted that maybe this was my life now. Work, home, rinse and repeat. Some people get married and have kids, some people don't. I was going to be one of the ones who didn't, and that was okay. It had to be. On Sundays, I'd drive out to the hiking trails near Deschutes River. I'd walk for an hour, sometimes two. I liked the rhythm of it. Boots on dirt, the sound of the river in the distance, the smell of pine and earth. I'd pass other hikers, couples mostly, families. I'd nod, say good morning, keep walking. I didn't feel bitter about it. I just felt separate, like I was watching life happen to other people while I moved through the margins. There was a diner in town I'd go to sometimes on Saturday mornings, the Wildwood. It had been there since the 70s, red vinyl booths and a jukebox that still worked. I'd sit at the counter, order eggs and toast, drink too much coffee while reading the local paper. The waitress, Carol, knew my order by heart. "Jake, honey, you want the usual?" I'd nod. She'd pour my coffee without asking. I liked Carol. She was in her 60s, had worked there for 30 years. She treated everyone the same, direct, no nonsense, but warm. She'd ask how work was going, and I'd tell her about whatever job I was on. She'd nod, top off my coffee, move on to the next customer. It was the closest thing I had to regular human connection outside of work. My phone didn't ring much outside of job calls. Matt would text every couple of weeks, invite me to a game night or a barbecue. I'd go sometimes, sit on his back porch, drink a beer, talk about work or the Blazers or whatever. His wife, Jen, would try to set me up with her friends occasionally. I'd politely decline. "I'm good, really," I'd say. She'd give me that look, pity mixed with concern. I hated that look. The truth was, I'd stopped believing it would happen for me. Not in a tragic way, just in a realistic one. I was 32, living alone, working a blue-collar job in a small town. I wasn't particularly charming. I didn't have some great story to tell. I was just Jake, the guy who fixed your wiring, the guy who showed up on time and didn't overcharge you. And that was fine. I kept telling myself it was fine. I'd lie in bed some nights, staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind move through the pines outside my window. I'd think about my grandparents, about how they'd lived in this house together for 5 decades, how my grandfather had fallen apart after my grandmother died, how he'd just sort of faded after that, like he didn't know how to exist without her. I wondered if I'd end up like that, alone in this house, growing old with nothing but routines and silence. No one to share coffee with in the morning, no one to talk to at the end of a long day, but I didn't dwell on it. You can't spend your whole life waiting for something that might never come. You just have to keep moving, keep working, keep showing up. That was my life. Simple, quiet, functional. And then I met Emma. Before I tell you what happened next, do me a favor. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from. I love hearing from you all. And if you're finding this worthwhile, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps me keep bringing you these stories. Now, let me tell you what changed everything. It was a Wednesday afternoon in late April when I first saw her. I'd gotten a call that morning from Linda, the owner of the Wildwood, the same diner where I had breakfast most Saturdays. She said the lights in the kitchen were flickering, and one of the outlets near the dishwasher had stopped working entirely. "I know you're busy, Jake, but can you squeeze me in? I can't have the health inspector show up with half my kitchen not working." I told her I'd be there by 2. The place was mostly empty when I walked in. The lunch rush had ended, just a couple of regulars nursing coffee at the counter. Carol waved at me from behind the register. "Kitchen's in the back, honey. Linda's waiting for you." I nodded, grabbed my toolbox from the van and headed through the swinging doors. That's when I saw her. She was wiping down one of the stainless steel prep tables, her back to me. Dark hair pulled into a ponytail, jeans and a plain gray t-shirt, white sneakers that had seen better days. She was methodical about it, working in steady circular motions, not rushing, not distracted. There was something almost meditative about the way she moved. Linda was by the walk-in cooler, checking something on a clipboard. She looked up when she heard me come in. "Jake, thank God. It's the panel over there by the dishwasher. Been acting up for 2 days now." "I'll take a look," I said, setting my toolbox down. The woman at the prep table glanced over her shoulder. Our eyes met for maybe half a second. She had a quiet face, not particularly striking, but calm. She gave a small nod, like acknowledging my presence, then went back to cleaning. I worked for about 40 minutes, tracing the wiring, tightening connections, replacing a faulty breaker. Standard stuff. Linda hovered for the first 10 minutes, then got pulled away by a phone call. Carol came back once to grab something from the cooler. The woman, Emma, though I didn't know her name yet, stayed at the far end of the kitchen, cleaning, organizing, staying out of my way. When I finished, I tested the outlets, flipped the breaker. Everything worked. I packed up my tools and found Linda at the front counter. She paid me in cash, thanked me 3 times, told me to come by for breakfast on the house. I told her she didn't have to do that. She insisted. As I was walking out, I passed the woman again. She was carrying a gray plastic bin full of cleaning supplies toward the back door. I held the door open for her. She paused, looked up at me. "Thanks," she said. Her voice was quiet, not shy, just measured. "No problem," I said. She stepped outside into the alley and I let the door swing shut behind her. I didn't think much about it. Just another face in a small town. But 3 days later, I saw her again. I was at the grocery store, the small one on the north side of town that's cheaper than the chain place. I was in the canned goods aisle staring at pasta sauce options like it was some kind of major decision, when I heard a cart roll past behind me. I glanced over. It was her. Same ponytail, same quiet expression. She had a basket, not a cart, just a few items. Bread, eggs, a bag of apples. She didn't notice me at first. I almost didn't say anything. But then she looked up and I saw the flicker of recognition in her eyes. "Hey," I said, because it felt weird not to. "You work at the Wildwood, right?" She stopped. "Yeah, you're the electrician." "Jake," I said, extending a hand. She shifted the basket to her other arm and shook my hand. Her grip was firm but brief. "Emma, you new in town?" I asked. "I don't think I've seen you around before a couple days ago." "Pretty new," she said. "Been here about 2 months. How are you liking it?" She shrugged. "It's quiet." That's what I wanted. There was a pause. Not an awkward one, just a space where neither of us felt the need to fill the silence immediately. I noticed she wasn't wearing a wedding ring. Not that I was looking. Okay, I was looking. "You work at the diner full-time?" I asked. "Part-time," she said. "I do cleaning jobs mostly, houses, offices, whatever comes up. Linda needed help a few days a week, so I took it." "That's good work," I said, and I meant it. I knew what it was like to hustle for jobs, to piece together a living from wherever you could find it. She nodded. "It pays the bills." Another pause. She glanced down at her basket, then back at me. I got the sense she was about to excuse herself, so I just went for it. "Hey, if you're still getting to know the area, there's a decent coffee place on Main. The Brew House. Not fancy, but it's good. I go there sometimes on Saturday mornings. If you ever want company or just want someone to point out where stuff is in town." I trailed off, realizing I was rambling. She looked at me for a long moment. I couldn't read her expression. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. It was small, but genuine. "Saturday?" she asked. "Yeah, around 9. Okay, I repeated, feeling a strange flicker of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope, maybe, or just surprise. She adjusted the basket again. "I should finish shopping, but I'll see you Saturday." "See you then." She walked past me toward the checkout, and I stood there in the pasta aisle like an idiot, holding a jar of marinara sauce I didn't even want. Saturday came slower than I expected. I spent Friday evening cleaning my van for no good reason, then felt ridiculous about it, and stopped halfway through. I wasn't a teenager. This wasn't a date. It was just coffee. 2 people getting to know each other in a completely normal, no-pressure way. I got to the brew house at 5 minutes to 9. It was a small place, brick walls and mismatched furniture, the kind of spot that roasted its own beans and took coffee way too seriously. I ordered a black coffee and sat at a table near the window. Emma arrived right at 9. She was wearing jeans and a faded blue sweater, her hair down this time. She looked around, spotted me, and walked over. No hesitation, no performative uncertainty, just straightforward. "Hey," she said. "Hey, want me to grab you something?" "I'll get it. Be right back." She ordered at the counter, something with oat milk, I think, and came back a minute later. She sat down across from me, wrapping her hands around the cup like she was cold, even though it wasn't particularly chilly outside. "So," I said, "how's the settling in going?" "Fine," she said. "I'm in a small place on the west side, 1 bedroom, it's enough." "You move here for work?" She hesitated just for a second. Sort of. I just needed a change. Wanted to be somewhere quieter. Where were you before? Portland, she said. It was a lot. I got tired of it. I nodded. I get that. I've lived here my whole life. Wouldn't know what to do in a city. You're not missing much, she said. There was something in her tone. Not bitterness, but fatigue. Like she'd left more than just a city behind. We talked for over an hour. Nothing deep, nothing heavy. She asked what I did for work, and I told her about being an electrician, about inheriting my grandfather's tools and his client list. She told me about cleaning houses, about how she liked the work because it was straightforward. You go in, you clean, you leave. No one bothers you. No one expects anything beyond the job. I asked if she had family in the area. She said no, I didn't push. When we finally left, the sun was higher, the street busier. We stood outside the brew house, and I didn't want the conversation to end, but I also didn't want to overstay. This was nice, she said. Yeah, we should do it again. She smiled, that same small, genuine smile. I'd like that. We exchanged numbers. She typed hers into my phone, handed it back. Text me, she said. So I know it's you. I sent her a message right there. Jake, the electrician. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, read it, and laughed. Just a soft exhale, really, but I counted it. Got it, she said. We said goodbye, and I watched her walk to her car, a beat-up Honda Civic, probably 15 years old. She drove off and I stood there feeling something I hadn't felt in years, like I wanted to see someone again, like maybe this time it wouldn't just fizzle out. We started seeing each other regularly after that, not in any official way. No one used the word dating. We just spent time together. The following Tuesday, she texted me, "Sink's leaking. You know anything about plumbing?" I showed up at her apartment that evening with a wrench and some plumber's tape. The place was exactly what she'd described. Small, one bedroom, almost bare. There was a futon in the living room, a folding table with one chair, a few boxes stacked in the corner that looked like they hadn't been unpacked. The walls were blank. No pictures, no decorations. It looked temporary, like she could pack up and leave in an hour. I know it's not much, she said, standing in the doorway while I crouched under the kitchen sink. It's fine, I said. Functional. That's one word for it. The leak was simple, just a loose coupling. I tightened it, tested the water, dried everything off. Took maybe 10 minutes. When I stood up, she was leaning against the counter, arms crossed. What do I owe you? She asked. Nothing. It was barely anything. Jake, I'm serious. If it makes you feel better, you can buy me a beer sometime. She considered this. I don't have any beer, but I have pasta and marinara sauce. I could make dinner. I looked at the clock on the stove. It was barely 6. You don't have to. I know, she said, but I'm offering. So I stayed. She cooked while I sat at the folding table. It was simple. Spaghetti, jarred sauce, a little garlic she sautéed in olive oil. She worked quietly, efficiently, the same way she'd cleaned the prep table at the diner. When it was done, she brought 2 plates over and sat across from me. Sorry, there's only one chair, she said, sitting on a storage bin she'd flipped upside down. I've had worse dining experiences. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then she asked, "Do you ever get lonely, living out there by yourself?" The question caught me off guard. Not because it was intrusive, but because it was direct. Most people danced around things like that. Yeah, I said. Sometimes. She nodded like she understood exactly what I meant. Me too. After that night, it became a pattern. I'd text her when I was done with work, ask if she wanted to grab food or take a walk. She'd say yes more often than not. We'd meet at the trails by the river, or at the taco truck on the edge of town. Or she'd come over to my place and we'd sit on the back porch while the sun set behind the pines. She started opening up slowly, little pieces at a time. One evening, we were sitting on my porch drinking beer from bottles, watching the sky turn purple. She told me she'd grown up with a lot of pressure. My family had expectations, she said, staring out at the trees, about who I should be, what I should do. I spent most of my 20s trying to live up to them, and She stopped, shook her head. I couldn't do it anymore. So you left? Yeah, I left. I didn't ask for details. I could tell she wasn't ready to give them. But I understood the weight of it, the exhaustion that comes from trying to be someone you're not. I get that, I said, wanting to just exist without someone telling you how. She looked over at me. Is that why you're still here? In this town? Partly. I inherited the house. I have work. But mostly, yeah. It's simple. No one expects anything from me except to show up and do the job. That sounds nice. It is. Most of the time. We sat there until it got dark, not saying much, just being. Few weeks later, Emma mentioned that her bathroom faucet was dripping and driving her crazy. I told her I'd come by on Saturday morning. When I got there, she had coffee ready. Real coffee. Not instant. She'd bought a French press. You didn't have to do that, I said. I know. But I'm tired of bad coffee. I fixed the faucet. Another easy job, just needed a new washer. And when I finished, she was sitting on the futon with 2 mugs. I sat down next to her, and we drank coffee while morning light came through the window. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Why aren't you with someone? I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I didn't have a good answer. I don't know, just never worked out, I guess. I tried for a while. Apps, setups from friends. It was exhausting. Everyone's performing, you know? Trying to be the version of themselves they think you want. I got tired of it. She was quiet for a moment. I know what you mean. What about you? She stared into her mug. I was with someone for a long time. It didn't end well. He wasn't a bad person, but he wanted a version of me that didn't exist. And I kept trying to be that person because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. She looked up at me. I don't want to do that anymore. You shouldn't have to. No, she agreed. I shouldn't. That day we didn't leave her apartment. We just talked. About past relationships, about family, about the weird loneliness of modern life. She told me her parents were demanding, that they'd had a specific path mapped out for her, and when she deviated from it, things got ugly. She didn't go into details, but I could hear the hurt in her voice. I told her about my grandparents, about how my grandfather had basically shut down after my grandmother died. He just stopped, I said. Stopped eating, stopped talking. He'd sit in his chair and stare at the TV without turning it on. He lasted 8 months. That's heartbreaking. Yeah, but I also get it. They'd been together so long he didn't know how to be a person without her. Emma reached over and put her hand on mine. It was the first time she'd touched me like that. Intentionally, not just a handshake or an accidental brush. Her hand was warm. I'm sorry, she said. Thanks. We sat like that for a while, her hand on mine, neither of us moving. By late May, we'd fallen into a routine. I'd come over after work 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes she'd cook. Nothing fancy, just simple meals. Other times we'd order pizza or Chinese food and eat it straight from the containers. We'd watch movies on her laptop, sit close on the futon, her head sometimes resting on my shoulder. One night after a long day, I was too tired to drive home. You can stay, she said. I mean, if you want, the futon pulls out. I stayed. She gave me a pillow and a blanket, and I slept on the fold-out couch while she went to her bedroom. It felt strangely domestic, comfortable. In the morning, she made scrambled eggs and toast. We ate together at the folding table, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Do you ever think about the future? She asked suddenly. Sometimes. Why? I don't know. I used to have this whole plan. Where I'd be by 30, by 35. What my life would look like, and now I'm here. And none of it turned out the way I thought. Is that a bad thing? She thought about it. No, it's just different. Weird. Different can be good. She smiled. Yeah, it can. June brought warmer weather. We started spending more time outside. Hiking the trails, driving out to the lake, sitting by the water with sandwiches and cold drinks. Emma seemed lighter, like she was shedding something heavy. One afternoon, we were sitting on a large, flat rock by the river. Shoes off, feet in the cold water. She was quiet, staring at the current. I need to tell you something, she said finally. My stomach tightened. Okay, I haven't been completely honest with you. I turned to look at her, but she kept her eyes on the water. About what? About why I left Portland, about my family. She took a breath. They're not just demanding. They're wealthy, like really wealthy. And they had all these plans for me. And I was supposed to go along with it because that's what you do in families like mine. But I couldn't. So I left. I waited. She still wasn't looking at me. I told you, I clean houses, she continued. And I do. But I don't have to. I have money, a lot of it. A lot. I didn't want that to be the first thing you knew about me. I let that sit for a moment. Why are you telling me now? Because it feels wrong not to. Because you've been honest with me, and I haven't been completely honest with you. Okay, I said. She finally looked at me. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? That I'm mad you didn't tell me you have money? I don't care about that, Emma. I care about… I stopped, realizing what I was about to say. About what? She asked quietly. About you. Just you. Her eyes welled up, but she didn't cry. She just nodded, like she'd been waiting to hear that for a long time. After that conversation, things shifted, not in a dramatic way, but in a way that felt more solid. We stopped dancing around what we were to each other. We were together. It wasn't official in some grand declaration kind of way, but we both knew it. She started keeping a toothbrush at my place. I kept a change of clothes at hers. We'd text throughout the day. Stupid stuff, like pictures of weird things we saw or just, hey, thinking about you. It was easy, uncomplicated. One Saturday in early July, I was working on replacing some rotted boards on my back deck, and Emma showed up with a tool belt and a determined look on her face. I'm helping, she announced. You don't have to. I know, but I want to. So, we worked together. I showed her how to measure, how to cut, how to secure the boards. She was a quick learner, methodical and careful. We worked through the afternoon, sweating in the summer heat, drinking water from a cooler, not talking much but moving in sync. When we finished, we sat on the new deck admiring our work. Not bad, I said. We're pretty good at this, she said. Yeah, we are. She leaned against me and I put my arm around her. The sun was setting, casting everything in warm orange light. I felt something I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. Contentment, peace, like this was exactly where I was supposed to be. But good things don't stay simple forever. One evening in late July, we were at her apartment making dinner together. She was chopping vegetables while I stirred pasta. When her phone rang, she glanced at the screen, and her entire body tensed. I need to take this, she said, stepping into the bedroom and closing the door. I turned down the heat on the stove and waited. I could hear her voice through the door, muffled but clearly agitated. No, I'm not coming back. I already told you. No. A long pause. That's not fair, and you know it. Another pause. I don't care. I'm done. She came out a few minutes later, face pale, jaw tight. Everything okay? I asked, even though I knew it wasn't. It's my family, she said. They found out where I am. They want me to come back. What did you tell them? That I'm not going, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. The fear. Like part of her was still being pulled back toward the life she'd run from. I walked over, took her hands. Hey, you don't have to go back. You don't owe them anything. I know, she whispered, but she didn't sound convinced. That night, she was quiet, distant. I stayed over, and we lay in bed, her back to me, the space between us feeling wider than it should have. I stared at the ceiling, wondering how long we had before her past came crashing into the life we were building. The man showed up on a Thursday afternoon in early August. I was at the Wildwood, sitting at the counter with a turkey sandwich and a Coke, waiting for Emma to finish her shift. She'd texted me during lunch asking if I wanted to grab dinner after she got off at 3. I'd said yes, finished up the job I was on early, and drove over. Carol was refilling my Coke when the front door opened. I glanced up out of habit. He was maybe 40, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my truck. Polished shoes, expensive watch, hair styled in that effortless way that actually takes a lot of effort. He looked around the diner like he was trying to figure out if he'd walked into the wrong place. Then his eyes landed on Emma. She was behind the counter, wiping down the coffee station. She looked up, saw him, and froze. The color drained from her face. "Miss Hartwell," he said, his voice smooth and corporate. "We need to talk." The diner went quiet. Even Carol stopped mid-pour. Emma set down the rag she was holding. "I have nothing to say to you, Richard. Your father disagrees. I don't care." He glanced around, clearly uncomfortable with the audience. "Perhaps we could speak privately?" "No." He sighed, the kind of sigh that said he was being patient with a difficult child. "Emma, this has gone on long enough. Your family is concerned. You've been gone for months. You're not answering calls. Your mother is. My mother can call me herself if she's so concerned. She has. You don't answer." Emma's hands were shaking. I could see it from where I sat. I stood up, walked over. Is there a problem here? Richard's eyes flicked to me, assessing. And you are? A friend. He looked me up and down, work boots, jeans with plaster dust on them, faded flannel shirt. I could see the dismissal in his eyes. I see. Miss Hartwell, your father sent me to deliver a message. He expects you at the estate by the end of the month. There are responsibilities you've been neglecting, contracts that need your signature, board meetings that require your presence. I'm not coming back, Richard. I already told him that. You don't have a choice. You're still on the board. You're still a beneficiary of the trust. There are legal obligations. Then remove me from the board. I don't want any of it. His expression hardened. It's not that simple, and you know it. Your grandfather's will stipulates. I don't care what it stipulates. I'm not coming back. Richard pulled a business card from his jacket pocket and placed it on the counter. When you come to your senses, call me. Your father is willing to be reasonable, but his patience has limits. He looked at me again. I'm sure your friend here understands that family responsibilities can't be ignored forever. Then he walked out, the door chiming behind him. The diner stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then conversation slowly resumed, people pretending they hadn't just witnessed whatever that was. Emma grabbed the business card and crumpled it. Her hands were still shaking. I need a break, she said to Linda, who'd appeared from the kitchen. Take all the time you need, honey, Linda said, her voice gentle. Emma walked out the back door. I followed. She was sitting on the concrete step in the alley, head in her hands. I sat down next to her, not touching, just present. I'm sorry you had to see that, she said. Don't apologize. They won't stop. They'll keep coming. They'll keep pushing. Then we'll deal with it. She looked at me, eyes red. You don't understand. My family, they don't take no for an answer. They have lawyers, connections, money. They'll make my life hell until I come back. What do they want from you? She laughed, bitter. Everything. They want me to sit on the board of the company, to marry someone they approve of, to be the perfect daughter who does what she's told. My grandfather built this hotel empire, and when he died, he left shares to me in his will. I'm supposed to be part of the succession plan, but I don't want it. I never wanted it, so don't do it. It's not that simple, Jake. There are trusts, legal documents, family politics. If I refuse, they'll find ways to punish me, freeze my access to money, tie me up in court, make it impossible for me to have any kind of normal life. I took her hand. It was cold despite the summer heat. What do you want? I want this, she said, voice breaking. I want to work at a diner and clean houses and live in a crappy apartment. I want to sit on your porch and watch the sunset. I want to be with someone who doesn't care about my last name or how much I'm worth. I just want to be normal. Then stay. What if they don't let me? They can't force you to go back. You're an adult. You don't know them. You don't know what they're capable of. Over the next 2 weeks, things got worse. Emma started getting calls daily. She stopped answering, but they kept coming. Voicemails from her father, her mother, family lawyers. Emails piled up. One morning, she woke up to find a certified letter slid under her apartment door. Something about breach of fiduciary duty and mandatory board attendance. She stopped sleeping well. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and find her sitting on the futon, staring at her phone, reading messages. Her appetite disappeared. She lost weight. The lightness I'd seen in her over the summer was gone, replaced by a constant low-grade anxiety. One evening, we were at my place trying to watch a movie, but she couldn't focus. She kept checking her phone, leg bouncing nervously. Talk to me, I said, pausing the movie. They're threatening to sue me, she said, for abandonment of fiduciary duty. They're saying I'm breaching the terms of my grandfather's trust. Can they do that? I don't know. Maybe. Probably. My grandfather's will was complicated. He tied everything up in trusts and conditions to keep the family business intact. I didn't pay attention to the details when I was younger, because I never thought I'd want to leave. Have you talked to a lawyer? I can't afford a lawyer who could go up against my family's legal team. What about your money? You said you have money. It's in a trust. They control it. My father's the executor until I'm 35, unless I meet certain conditions. Marriage to an approved partner, active participation in the company, things like that. Right now, I have access to a monthly allowance, but they can freeze that whenever they want. I felt anger building in my chest. That's insane. That's how wealthy families operate. Control, leverage, everything's conditional. She put her face in her hands. Maybe I should just go back. Do what they want for a few years, get my access, then leave for good. You don't believe that. I don't know what I believe anymore. I'm so tired, Jake. I'm tired of fighting them. I'm tired of being scared. I pulled her close. She rested her head on my chest and I could feel her trembling. You don't have to fight them alone, I said. Yes, I do. This isn't your problem. If it affects you, it's my problem. The breaking point came a week later. I was working a job across town when Emma called me, voice panicked. Jake, I need you. Can you come to my apartment? I left immediately. Didn't even clean up my tools. When I got there, her apartment door was open. Inside, Emma was sitting on the floor, back against the wall, surrounded by papers. Her mother was there. She was an elegant woman, probably in her early 60s, wearing a cream-colored pantsuit and pearl earrings. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. When I walked in, she turned to me with a polite but cold smile. You must be Jake, she said. I'm Victoria Hartwell, Emma's mother. Ma'am, I said, looking past her to Emma. You okay? Emma nodded, but she looked shell-shocked. I was just explaining to my daughter, Victoria continued, that this little rebellion of hers has consequences. Her father is prepared to cut off her allowance entirely. We've already contacted the landlord of this building. He's a business associate of ours, and informed him that Emma's lease will not be renewed. I felt my jaw tighten. You can't do that. I assure you we can. We're also prepared to pursue legal action to enforce the terms of her grandfather's trust. Emma signed documents when she turned 25. She agreed to certain responsibilities. She's in violation of those agreements. Mom, please, Emma said, voice small. Victoria's expression softened slightly. Darling, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to protect you. This life you're living, it's beneath you. You're meant for more than cleaning toilets and serving coffee. Come home, fulfill your obligations. And then, if you still want to leave, we can discuss it. You're lying, Emma said. If I go back, you'll never let me leave. You're being dramatic. I'm being realistic. Victoria sighed, then looked at me again. Young man, I'm sure you're a perfectly nice person. But you have to understand. Emma comes from a world you can't comprehend. She has responsibilities, a legacy to uphold. This fantasy she's living with you, it's not sustainable. That's not your call to make, I said. Isn't it? Emma is still financially dependent on her family. Without us, she has nothing. Can you support her? Can you provide the life she's accustomed to? I don't want that life, Emma said, standing up. I never wanted it. You say that now, but what happens in 6 months? A year? When the novelty wears off and you're struggling to make rent, when you can't afford the things you're used to, when you realize you gave up everything for a man who works with his hands. Get out, Emma said. Victoria blinked. Excuse me? Get out of my apartment now. Emma, get out. Victoria gathered her purse, composed herself. You have until the end of the month to vacate this property. After that, we're filing legal motions to compel your return to your board duties. I hope you'll come to your senses before it comes to that. She walked to the door, paused. I love you, darling, even if you don't believe that right now. Then she left. Emma collapsed back onto the floor. I sat down next to her, pulled her into my arms. She didn't cry. She just sat there, staring at nothing. What am I going to do? She whispered. You're going to fight, I said. And I'm going to help you. Jake, you heard her. They can ruin me, they can take everything. They can't take you, they can't take this. I gestured between us. Unless you let them. She finally looked at me. Why are you doing this? Why are you sticking around for this mess? Because I love you, I said. The words came out before I could think about them, but they were true. Emma's eyes filled with tears. You shouldn't. I'm too much trouble. Too late. She kissed me then, desperate, clinging, like she was afraid I'd disappear. When she pulled back, she was crying. I love you too, and I'm terrified that they're going to take you away from me. They won't. I'm not going anywhere. But even as I said it, I could feel the walls closing in. I didn't sleep that night. After Emma's mother left, we sat on the floor of her apartment for hours, not saying much. Emma was exhausted, emotionally, physically. Around midnight, she finally fell asleep on the futon, still fully dressed. I covered her with a blanket and sat in the dark, thinking. Victoria's words kept replaying in my head. Can you support her? Can you provide the life she's accustomed to? The honest answer was no. I couldn't give Emma the wealth she'd grown up with. I made a decent living, but it was blue-collar work, inconsistent some months. My house was paid off, which helped, but I wasn't wealthy. I wasn't even comfortable. I was just getting by. And maybe Victoria was right. Maybe in 6 months or a year, Emma would wake up and realize what she'd given up. Maybe she'd resent me for it. But then I looked at her sleeping there, curled up on that cheap futon in her bare apartment, and I remembered something she'd told me weeks ago. I just want to be normal. She hadn't said she wanted to be poor. She'd said she wanted to be normal, to make her own choices, to not be owned by expectations and trusts and family legacies. And I couldn't give her wealth, but I could give her that. I could give her a life where she didn't have to perform, where she could just exist, where the only expectation was to show up as herself. That was worth fighting for. When morning came, Emma woke up disoriented. She looked around, saw me sitting in the chair by the window, and sat up slowly. "Did you sleep?" she asked, voice rough. "A little." She rubbed her face. "I need to figure out what to do." "I know." She stood up, walked to the window, stared out at the parking lot. "My lease is up in 3 weeks. My mother wasn't bluffing. My landlord already texted me last night. He's not renewing. You can stay with me." She turned around. "Jake, I'm serious. Move in with me. You don't have to live in my house forever if you don't want to. But right now, you need a place. I have space. What if they come after you? What if they make your life difficult? Let them try." Emma shook her head. "You don't understand what you're signing up for. My family will dig into your life. They'll look for anything they can use against you. They'll try to paint you as someone taking advantage of me. Are you taking advantage of me? What? No. Then I don't care what they say. Emma, I meant what I said last night. I'm not going anywhere. But I need to know. What do you want? Not what your family wants, not what you think you should want. What do you actually want?" She was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady. "I want to stay here, with you. I want to build a life that's mine, even if it's small, even if it's nothing compared to what I had. Then that's what we'll do. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You think it's complicated because they've spent your whole life convincing you that you can't survive without them. But you can. You're already doing it." Tears welled up in her eyes. "What if I fail? What if I can't handle it? Then we'll figure it out together, but you won't fail. I've watched you these past few months. You're stronger than you think you are." She crossed the room, stood in front of me. "Why do you believe in me so much?" "Because I see you, the real you. Not the version your family wants. Not the heiress or the board member or whatever they think you should be. Just Emma. And that Emma is more than enough." She broke down then, not quietly, but in deep, shaking sobs. I stood up, held her while she cried. She clung to me like I was the only solid thing in her world. When she finally calmed down, she pulled back, wiped her eyes. "Okay," she said. "Okay, okay. I'll move in with you. I'll fight them. I'll do whatever it takes." "You're sure?" She nodded. "I'm sure." We spent the next 2 weeks packing up her apartment. She didn't have much. Most of her belongings were still in storage or at her family's estate. What she did have fit into my truck in 2 trips. Her family didn't make it easy. Her father called repeatedly, leaving increasingly angry voicemails. Her mother tried a softer approach, sending text messages about how much they missed her, how they just wanted what was best for her. Emma ignored most of it, but I could see the toll it was taking. One afternoon, while we were loading boxes, she got a call from a number she didn't recognize. She answered, thinking it might be work-related. It was a lawyer. I could only hear her side of the conversation, but I got the gist. They were formally notifying her of legal action, breach of trust, failure to fulfill board duties. They were seeking financial penalties and demanding her return. When she hung up, she looked pale. "They're actually suing me. Let them. Jake, this could get ugly. Court battles, depositions. They'll drag you into it too. I don't care. You should. This is my mess, not yours." I set down the box I was holding. "Emma, listen to me. I know this is scary. I know your family has resources and power and all that. But they don't have you, not anymore. You've already left. You've already chosen a different life. All they can do now is try to bully you into coming back, and as long as you don't go, they've lost. What if they freeze my accounts completely? What if I can't even access the allowance I have now? Then we'll make it work. I'm not rich, but I can cover basic expenses. You're working. We'll be okay. I don't want you to have to support me. You're not asking me to. I'm offering. There's a difference. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she said, I don't deserve you. You're wrong about that. The day she officially moved in, I'd cleared out half my closet and made space in the dresser. It wasn't much, but it was something. She hung up her clothes, put her books on the shelf in the living room, set her toiletries in the bathroom. That evening, we sat on the back porch, watching the sun set through the pines. She leaned against me, and I put my arm around her. This feels real, she said quietly. It is real. I mean, before, everything felt temporary, like I was playing house, but this feels permanent. Is that okay? She looked up at me. It's more than okay. We stayed out there until it got dark. Then we went inside, made dinner together, ate at the kitchen table my grandparents had used for 50 years. It felt right, like the house had been waiting for this, for people to actually live in it again, not just exist. Later that night, lying in bed, Emma turned to me. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why did you say yes when I asked to move in? You could have said it was too fast, that you needed time, but you didn't. Because you needed someone to choose you, not your money, not your family name, just you, and I wanted to be that person. She was quiet. Then she said, You know what scares me the most? What? That I'll wake up one day and this will all be gone. That I'll lose you somehow. You won't. You don't know that. You're right, I don't. But I know this. I'm not going anywhere by choice. Whatever happens, legal battles, family drama, whatever they throw at us, we face it together. You don't have to do this alone anymore. She kissed me then, soft and slow. When she pulled back, she whispered, Thank you. For what? For staying. A week later, Emma received another letter from her family's legal team. It was thick, formal, full of legal jargon I barely understood. I found her in the living room, reading through it, hands shaking. What does it say? They're offering a settlement, she said. If I agree to return and fulfill my board duties for 5 years, they'll drop the lawsuit and grant me full access to my trust when I turn 35. But if I refuse, they're going to pursue maximum penalties, financial and legal. What do you want to do? She set the letter down. I want to tell them to go to hell. Then do it. Jake, 5 years isn't that long. Maybe I should just... Emma. I knelt down in front of her, took her hands. Listen to me. If you go back, they'll never let you leave. You know that. 5 years will turn into 10, and 10 will turn into your whole life. This is it. This is the moment where you choose. I'm scared. I know. But you're also brave. You've already done the hardest part. You left. Everything else is just logistics. She took a shaky breath. What if we can't afford a lawyer good enough to fight them? Then we'll figure something else out. We'll find legal aid, pro bono help, whatever. But we're not giving up. You really believe we can win? I believe you deserve to live your own life. And I believe that's worth fighting for, no matter what it costs. Emma looked at me, really looked at me. Then she nodded. Okay, let's do it. Let's fight. That night, we drafted a response to her family's lawyers. It was simple, direct. Emma was declining their settlement offer. She would not be returning to fulfill board duties. She was prepared to defend herself in court. Before we sent it, she paused, finger hovering over the send button. Once I do this, there's no going back, she said. I know. They'll make it hell. Probably. And you're still sure you want to be part of this? I put my hand over hers. Emma, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Send it. She hit send. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her phone buzzed, an automated confirmation that the email had been delivered. Emma set the phone down, exhaled slowly. I did it. You did. I actually said no to them. You did. She started laughing, not from joy but from disbelief, and maybe a little bit of relief. I pulled her into a hug, and she held on tight. Whatever happens next, I said, we'll get through it. Together? Together. 8 months later, I woke up to the sound of rain on the roof. Emma was already awake, sitting up in bed with her laptop, typing quietly. The early morning light filtered through the curtains, soft and gray. I could smell coffee brewing in the kitchen. She must have set the timer before coming back to bed. "Morning," I said, voice rough with sleep. She glanced over, smiled. "Morning. Sorry. Didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't. What are you working on?" "Just answering some emails. I have 3 houses to clean this week, and one of my regulars wants to know if I can come on Friday instead of Thursday." I sat up, stretched. "You don't have to keep doing that, you know. The cleaning. I know, but I like it. It's simple, straightforward." She closed the laptop, set it on the nightstand. The legal battle with her family had finally settled 2 months ago. Not because they'd given up. They never would. But because Emma's lawyer, a fierce woman named Patricia, who'd taken the case pro bono after hearing Emma's story, had found a loophole in her grandfather's trust. Turns out the conditions for board participation were vaguely worded, and Patricia argued that forcing Emma to serve violated labor laws. It wasn't a perfect victory. Emma still didn't have full access to her trust, and probably wouldn't until she turned 35. But the lawsuit was dropped. Her family had backed off, for now. Emma still had access to her monthly allowance, though it was smaller than before. Between that and her cleaning jobs, she was making it work. We were making it work. "Coffee's ready," she said, sliding out of bed. I followed her to the kitchen. She poured 2 mugs, handed me one. We stood at the counter, looking out the window at the rain falling through the pines. "I have that job in Bend today," I said. "Rewiring a restaurant. Probably won't be back until 6. I'll make dinner. You want pasta or chicken?" "Surprise me," she smiled. This had become our routine. Small negotiations about meals and schedules. The mundane logistics of sharing a life. It was ordinary, boring even. It was perfect. By mid-morning, the rain had stopped. I loaded my tools into the van, kissed Emma goodbye, and drove to Bend. The job took most of the day. Old wiring, code violations, the kind of work that required patience and precision. Around 5, I finished up, got paid, and headed home. When I pulled into the driveway, Emma's car was there, and I could see lights on inside the house. I walked in to find her in the kitchen, wearing one of my old flannels over a t-shirt, stirring something on the stove. "Hey," she said, not looking up. "How was work?" "Good. Long. What are we having?" "Chicken and vegetables. Nothing fancy." I washed my hands at the sink, then came up behind her, wrapped my arms around her waist. She leaned back against me. "Your mom called today," she said quietly. I felt her tense slightly. What did she want? "To check in, see how I'm doing." She was civil, almost nice. That's progress. Maybe, or maybe she's just regrouping for another attack. Either way, you handled it. I hung up after 5 minutes. Still counts as handling it. She turned around, looked up at me. "Do you ever regret this? Taking me in, dealing with all my family drama?" "Not once. Not even a little. Emma, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Your family drama is just noise. It doesn't change how I feel about you." She studied my face like she was searching for doubt. When she didn't find any, she smiled. "I love you. I love you too." We ate dinner at the table, talked about our days, made plans for the weekend. Nothing dramatic, nothing extraordinary, just life. On Saturday, we drove out to the hiking trails we'd gone to months ago, back when we were still figuring out what we were to each other. The weather was cool but clear, the kind of fall day where everything smells like pine and damp earth. We walked for an hour, not saying much, just moving through the woods together. At one point, Emma stopped, looked around at the trees, the river in the distance, the mountains on the horizon. "I never thought I'd end up here," she said. "In Oregon? No, I mean here, in this life, with you. Happy. Are you? Happy?" She turned to me. "Yeah, I really am." We kept walking. Eventually, we found the same flat rock by the river, where she'd first told me the truth about her family. We sat down, feet dangling over the edge, listening to the water. "Do you ever think about the future?" she asked. "Sometimes." "Why?" "I don't know. I used to have all these plans. What my life would look like by 30, by 35. Big career, perfect house, the whole thing. And none of it happened the way I thought. Is that bad?" "No, it's just different, better, actually." I put my arm around her. "What do you want now for the future?" She thought about it. "I want this. I want to keep working, keep living in your house, keep having dinner together every night. Maybe get a dog. I don't know. Simple things." "That sounds good to me." "Yeah? Yeah, we sat there until the sun started to dip below the trees, painting everything in gold and orange light. Then we walked back to the truck and drove home. That night, lying in bed, Emma was quiet. I could tell she was thinking about something. "What's on your mind?" I asked. "I was just thinking about the day we met, at the diner, when I told you I was a cleaner." "What about it?" "I almost didn't talk to you. I was so used to keeping people at a distance, but something about you felt safe." "Safe?" "Yeah, like I could just be myself. Not the heiress, not the disappointing daughter, just me." "You were right. You could." She rolled over, faced me. "I lied to you that day. About who I was. I know. And you forgave me. There was nothing to forgive. You were protecting yourself. Still, not everyone would have understood that." I brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You're not everyone. And this isn't just any relationship. This is us. And we're solid." She smiled. "Yeah, we are." A year after Emma moved in, we were sitting on the back porch on a warm summer evening. She'd just finished planting a small vegetable garden in the yard. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs. It was something she'd wanted to try, and I'd helped her build the raised beds. "I think the tomatoes are going to be good this year," she said, looking out at the garden. "You say that every week." "Because I'm optimistic." I noticed. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Thank you." "For what?" "For giving me a place to land. For not trying to change me. For just letting me be. You don't have to thank me for that." "I know, but I want to." We sat there as the sun set, watching the shadows stretch across the yard. Somewhere in the distance I could hear a dog barking, a car driving down the gravel road, the wind moving through the trees. It was quiet, simple, ordinary. It was everything. The truth is, Emma's family never completely disappeared. They called occasionally, sent emails, made their presence known in small ways. Victoria even visited once, 6 months after the lawsuit settled. She was polite, controlled, civil. She didn't apologize, but she didn't attack either. She had coffee with Emma in town, and when she left, Emma looked exhausted but relieved. "She's never going to approve of this life," Emma had said afterward, "but I think she's starting to accept it. That's something." "Yeah, it is." Emma's relationship with her family would always be complicated. There would always be tension, unspoken resentment, the weight of expectations she'd rejected, but she was learning to live with it, learning to set boundaries, learning that she didn't need their approval to build a life worth living. And I was learning too, learning that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about showing up. It's about staying when things get hard. It's about choosing someone every day, even when it's not easy. Now, on this Tuesday morning, with rain falling softly outside and Emma typing away on her laptop beside me, I think about that question she asked months ago in the kitchen. Why did you lie to me? The truth is, she didn't lie to hurt me. She lied to protect herself, to see if someone could love her for who she was, not what she had. And I get it now. I get why she needed to know that before she could let anyone in. Because when you've spent your whole life being valued for the wrong reasons, you start to doubt whether anyone could ever value you for the right ones. But I do. I value her, the real her. Emma, the woman who cleans houses because she likes the simplicity, who plants tomatoes even though she's never successfully grown them, who still gets anxious when her phone rings and it's her mother, who falls asleep on the couch most nights because she insists on waiting up for me, even when I work late. That's the person I chose. That's the person I'll keep choosing. She closes her laptop, looks over at me. What are you thinking about? Nothing important. Liar. I smile, just thinking about how lucky I am. That's cheesy. Doesn't make it less true. She crawls back into bed, curls up against me. You know what's funny? What? My family wanted me to end up with someone who could give me everything. Money, status, security, and I ended up with you. Should I be offended? She laughs. No, because you gave me the only thing that actually mattered. What's that? A place where I could just be myself. No conditions, no expectations, just space to exist. I kiss the top of her head. You always had that. You just had to find it. No, she says quietly. I had to find you. Outside, the rain continues to fall. Inside, we lie together in comfortable silence. There's no drama, no crisis, no grand romantic gesture, just two people who found each other when they needed it most. Two people who chose to stay. And that, I've learned, is what love actually is. Not a fairy tale, not a rescue, just the quiet decision to build something real, together, one ordinary day at a time.